Well, the biggest challenge facing the government is to do with job creation. Yesterday, in the first part of our special series in partnership with Hindustan Times on the job market, we focused on whether or not India can absorb the migration of workforce from agriculture. Today, we focus on the issue of low wages. Is the workforce getting the wages that they want or they need? Joining us now, Manish Sabharwal, the co-founder of Team Lease. Also with us, Prasenjit, Bose, Economist and Activist. Manish and Prasenjit, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV18. Manish, I'll start by asking you, I mean, A, there is a problem of getting the sort of job that you want, but B, there's also the problem of income mismatch. Yesterday, we were talking about the income mismatch in the agriculture sector and allied sectors, but it pretty much cuts across most sectors, doesn't it?
Yes, I think you have to make up your mind on whether India has a jobs problem or a wages problem. And the fundamental metric of that is whether you think our official unemployment rate of between 5 and 6% is a fudge. Well, no, I don't think our official unemployment rate is a fudge. I mean, you can't have many definitions of unemployment. You can have many definitions of poverty or working poor or wages. I mean, there are three fault lines in India's wages, right? There's a massive difference between gross wages and net wages. India is one of the only countries in the world with 48% difference between gross and net wages for Provident Fund. There's a difference between real wages and nominal wages. There was a kid in Gwalior who told me, give me 4,000 rupees in Gwalior, 6,000 rupees in 9,000 rupees in Gurgaon and 18,000 rupees in Bombay. So there's a difference between khana rehna or office jana, which is the real wages and nominal wages problem, because of bad urbanization. And then there's a massive difference between government wages and private wages. The government underpays at the top and overpays at the bottom. So it distorts the market. So I think there is a wages problem. I think anybody who wants a job can get a job. They just don't have the wages they want or they need.
Well, I'm not so sure that anyone who wants a job can easily get a job. There is a productivity problem as well, but let me bring Prasenjit into the conversation as well. So Manish saying it's not so much a jobs problem as much as it is a wages problem that India suffers from. Prasenjit, A, would you agree with that? B, the prescription on how to work our way through it?
Well, I think that India has both a jobs problem, a massive jobs problem, and also a massive wages problem. So I think both are problems. And there is an inherent, problem anyway in applying the standards which, if you are talking about the unemployment rate, for instance. Now, if you are talking about a 5% unemployment rate, the same standard which say what 5% unemployment rate means for an economy like the United States or Europe or other countries of the OECD, it is not the same as, India. In India, if someone is unemployed, that means that person is on the verge of, or perhaps that person is a destitute, basically. It is just on the brink of survival. The main problem in India is that we have a workforce, by latest estimate, it is, almost about 49 crore. So, such a huge workforce, the main problem today which we have for a long time is informality. You are talking about a highly segmented workforce, and a large portion of this workforce, by various estimates, it is at least, say, 80%, and by many estimates, much more than that, which is outside the pale of formal employment. So that is what differentiates a country, a poor country, underdeveloped country like India from developed, advanced countries like Western Europe or US or Japan. And therefore, the kind of standards that we apply for employment and measuring employment and unemployment in those countries should not be applied here. As far as wages are concerned, what can one say? I mean, if you have a huge slack in the job market, and that is precisely what India has. It has an unlimited supply of labor or reserve labor, and therefore you have very low wages anyway. And you have a large section of the population or the working population whom you can call working poor. So they are employed, but they can't make two ends meet even after 8 hours, working 8 hours, toiling 8 hours a day. So we have both kind of, the problem is on both ends. We have a job problem as well as a wage problem.
as a wage problem. Let me pick up on the productivity problem as well. And I think it's your survey, the Team Lease survey, that talks about how we are a nation of enterprise dwarfs, and 29% of Indians work with an enterprise with over 9 employees. Only 1.5% of enterprises say that they have over 9 employees. I'm looking at the national productivity numbers. 50% of our labor produces only 13% of our GDP. So the move to a greater degree of formalization perhaps could be an answer to being able to address this. But how confident do you feel about that, Manish?
I mean, the only way to raise wages is raise productivity, and the only way to raise productivity is formalization, financialization, industrialization, and human capital. You know, if you think India has a jobs problem, you'll throw money from helicopters and do NREGS. If you think there's a wages problem, you will focus on formalizing India's enterprises. We have 63 million enterprises. 12 million don't have an office, 12 million work from home, only 12 million pay indirect taxes, only 1.1 million pay social security. Only 18,500 companies in India have a paid up capital of more than 10 crores. You know, it makes no sense for this level of informality and the 30, 40 million extra provident fund payers which we have in the last 3-4 years. So I would disagree that India is now 90% informal. I would say if you add provident fund, ESI, deduplicate them, you add NPS numbers, you add government employment, India may be actually at about 25% formal employment already. It's down to 75%.
Okay. Prasenjit, do you agree with that argument?
Formal
you didn't agree with the first one, but you...
option.
Is the only answer, is the only option and the only answer. Yes, Prasenjit, go ahead, yes.
Well, you know, the point is that, you know, Mr. Sabharwal may have his own estimates, but, you know, generally the standard among the academics, the reliable estimate of employment and employment conditions, informality, etc., they come from the NSS, you know, quinquennial surveys and the latest one. Now, all analysis so far are based on the latest data available in 2011-12. That is 6 years back. Now, even the recent ILO report, which was released, I think, you know, India wages report, just, you know, weeks back, months back, they are also basing their analysis on the base of the 2011-12 estimates. And as per that, you know, in any case, you have 50% of, in 2011-12, I am saying, you are talking about a 400 million odd strong workforce, and 51% of that is self-employed. Then you have, you know, for the rest, you know, you have only 18% of 440 crore workers in 2011-12 actually were in waged work, out of which a large section, once again, would be informal. So what has really changed between then and, say, when the latest data will be out? One doesn't know, because I don't think that we will be able to see the results of the...
I'd be happy to explain what has changed.
Okay. Okay. Let me give Manish the final say. Manish, we're out of time, so very quickly respond. Yes, please do.
Yeah, there were only 4.7 million enterprises paying any form of indirect taxes, excise, before GST. There are now 12 million enterprises. There are 6.7 million new enterprises in the formal sector in the last 1 year. These are not new enterprises, they're new formal enterprises. There are 35 million new provident fund payers. There are 42 million new ESI payers. I think, you know, academics have to really stop believing that survey data is the only source of labor market data. There is government data, there is administrative data. And survey data for a long time doesn't add up. The official enterprise survey, only 1.5% of enterprises say they have more than 9 employees. In the official household survey, 26% or 27% of Indians say they work for an enterprise with more than 9 employees. I think we have to reconcile this and not believe that this is some mumbo-jumbo, it's all a fudge, somebody has an interest in fudging it. I think let's make peace that Arjun Sen Gupta, which said 90% informal employment, is 15 years old. India has moved on, the labor markets have moved on, enterprises have moved on. Obviously, it's going to take a while for academics to do that.
Can I just say a few things on this? You know,
very quickly.
very quickly. First of all, no survey is perfect. The point is that what Mr. Sabharwal is saying, I mean, you have to establish scientifically why the survey, the kind of surveys that you are talking about or estimates that you are talking about, they are more rigorous than the latest surveys.
No, he's
it can't be on the basis of the claims that you are making.
He's just saying that
and if you are just making claims, then one will say it is mumbo jumbo. Secondly, there are vested interests.
No, I don't think that he's...
There are vested interests who would like to claim that, lots of jobs are being created, whereas they are not being created. So one can't rule out vested interests in fudging data. So the only reliable estimate...
So are the 34 million Provident Fund payers a fudge?
Now, academics have been doing this for the past...
Are the 35 million new Provident Fund payers a fudge?
No, listen, the point about...
So I'm only asking you, are the 35 million new Provident Fund payers a fudge?
No, you may not
have been... Are they a fudge?
Are they
a defined contribution, mandatory deduction?
You please listen to me, sir. You may not have been paying attention to the debate.
Are they a fudge?
You see,
I'm saying they're a new formal job. I'm paying quite a lot of attention.
Gentlemen,
it does not represent a net addition to the workforce. It may just represent a move away, a slight increase in the number of formality, but the way you are defining
formalization. I think that is what Manish alluded to. That is exactly what he said. Prasenjit, that is exactly what Manish said. No. I have to step in because we're completely out of time, but I do have to say that Manish did say that. He did say that these were not necessarily new jobs that were added, but this was a consequence of formalization. But this is a very interesting debate, and clearly we haven't heard the last on this issue. So I will get the two of you back again to take this discussion forward. But for this evening, Manish Sabharwal and Prasenjit, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV18.